Hi, I'm Carol the Crafty Whippet, and welcome to FLOSSTUBE video number 4. I did not end up filming last week because my kid's schedule has been absolutely insane. I don't know if it's just something about the month of November, but nothing is schedule-wise working for me in any way, shape, or form. Very frustrating. I mean, that's bad enough. I realized this week that I have to have my turkey in the refrigerator by end of day today in hopes that it's thawed and maybe brined for next week. That's right, Thanksgiving is next week. I have a turkey. I have nothing else. And I really was thinking, oh, I have 2 weeks to Thanksgiving. That has been my entire month. So yeah, last 2 weeks. Not enjoying it. But unfortunately that does mean that I also haven't gotten the cross-stitching done that I was hoping to get done. And I'm starting to panic a little bit on my Sabrina project. But we'll get there. So I will at least show my other 2 whips because I did manage to pull both of them up when I probably shouldn't have. But I did it anyway, so what's done is done. We're going to start first with Winter Kiss. And I'm on page 1 out of 49. And it's such a mess, I'm sorry, so trying to show. This blue line here is not the bottom of the page. There's 6 rows into the next set of squares, but I'm almost there, and then I have to figure out what to do with these because I'm planning on marching across. As you can see, I had started page 2, so finish page 1, do page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 7 across here, which means I am not going to have these hang out for, at the rate that I'm getting this finished, another 10 years. These poor things are going to need to be either put through the back and clipped off, or I just kind of run some of this, just run the thread out in the page below, which is also an option. But either way, trying to not work on this one, even though now that it's gotten really cold, I'm kind of in the mood for snow. Yeah. My father-in-law got his first snowfall this season last week, so I saw the pictures. I'm a little jealous. To be fair, by the end of winter, he is jealous because we don't get snow. So I guess it's always changes. My second whip, this is upside down. Heartstring Samplery Summertime Coverlet, and I've only done a little bit with this, but I had started this motif last time, went ahead and worked over here. The really cool thing that I like about this pattern is how you have the individual flowers, but the flowers in groups starts creating kind of interesting geometric shapes. Like you'll see here, this cool negative space rectangle, and that's going to happen with each of the flower groups. And there's, because I'm doing this second setup here, that means there's going to be 16 of these. But also you kind of get this curving line group here going to the center, and my arm is getting tired. Once you start adding the other ones down here, you're going to see that same kind of curving line motif come into the stars in the entire top of the design. It's really neat, and I'm glad I'm getting far enough to see where it is, but I need to put this one down because, real talk, I decided I was going to have Sabrina done for Christmas. Now, my mother loves to give me finished objects that are not fully finished, and while it's really cool when she hands me a cross stitch that would look really pretty on my wall, it's not so cool when she hands it to me unframed, because now it becomes another piece for my finished object but not framed pile, and I won't say I don't have the time for it. I do have the time for it, but I don't have the mental energy for it. So if I'm going to give my daughter a cross stitch picture, it's going to be fully complete, framed, ready to put on her wall that day. And I'm framing this myself, which I'm fine with. My concern was thinking, how long is it going to take me? And I order my frames online. I do not like the ones at Michael's. I don't like the ones at Target, Walmart, whatever. They are too shallow for cross stitch on foam board behind glass because you need mats, particularly it's a Mirabilia. There's going to be beads. So double matting pulls the beads away from the glass. But when you have all of that, the frames at all these places in town, they're shallow. They are so insanely shallow. And that means I have a good supplier that I found online. I have used them before. I like the frames that they give you. I think it's called rabbit depth, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, the actual depth of the frame in the back is fabulous. Love them. But when I ordered the one for the cross stitch I framed for my husband's birthday, the shipping time did take 10 days. So I need to have it done before school is out on I don't remember when in December the kids' school is out. That's pretty bad. I mean, bad mom. But I need to have it done before school is out, which means I need to have an idea of how big of a frame I'm planning on using, and I really can't do that until I'm sitting there playing with mats, going, what size is going to work? So I really need to have an idea by the 1st of December. Guys, that means I have 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I am not going to be able to do all this and the beading in 2 weeks. Now, to be fair, once I have this done, I don't need the beading in order to judge the mats and the size, and I can go ahead and order the frame and then bead while I wait for it to show up. But it's been 2 weeks since you've seen this. I've put in like, 4 square inches right here, a little bit right there, a little bit right there, and there is all of this remaining. That is what I'm worried about. So I don't know if I've bitten off more than I can chew, and now that I have put this goal in my mind, if I fail, I'm gonna probably put this project back to bed for 5 years. I don't want to do that. I want to be done with it. It's really pretty. I'm enjoying the time I'm spending stitching on it right now. I love the colors. I love the satisfaction as I come down and I'm able to put in new flowers because it's something different, breaks up the monotony of the endless B5200 that I'm using for the white. But I do want it to be done. And I'm a little worried. I should have gotten further in the last 2 weeks than I have. And yes, some of it is school stuff, my kids being home. It's frustrating, yay 3-day weekends, but guess what? They're also home again next week. Yay Thanksgiving. So I have to figure out something because I've gotten to where I can't even work on this except for when she's super asleep. And my daughter has reached the age where she's pretty sure that going to bed before me isn't cool. I don't know how I'm going to handle this. So we'll see. I guess I need to, every day that they're at school, do nothing but stitch on this. I don't know if my husband's going to be on board with the house not getting clean, because, yep, that happens too. But hey, let's do something on a little bit lighter of a note, because I have realized it takes me about like 2 minutes to get through all my whips, because I only have 3 of them. And that's cool. In watching other people's videos, I have been looking at, or listening. I primarily have FLOSSTUBE going while I'm cross-stitching, so I'm not really watching, I listen, but people are discussing their plans for next year, be it no new starts, stitch from stash. I think there was one other that I had seen a tag for, but escapes me at the moment. And I realized on the plus side, I only have 3 whips right now, which is good. The downside is I'm finding it very difficult to stay focused with my whips right now. I don't know, I mean, 3 is a good number. I can basically, as soon as you get tired of one, you move on to the next one, move on to the next one, but I don't. So one of the things I'm finding with this whole self-imposed deadline associated with Sabrina, I don't stitch in rotation right now. I have tried it in the past, and it wasn't successful for me, mostly because at that point I only had 2 projects going. I had one Mirabilia and one the really small Dimensions Golds project. Gold, or they petites? I don't remember. I don't know. It was a lighthouse project, and I hated it. So what it really meant is my rotation, and I gave equal time to each project. That was also a bad idea. One project is like this big, and one project is this big. And the little dimensions piece had more colors than the Mirabilia I was working on. So it wasn't confetti hell. I have found confetti hell. It's found in Hades, but it was not conducive for, despite it being a smaller project, it was almost as intricate and annoying as doing the Mirabilia. So, and it was a lighthouse. I don't know why I bought it in the first place. I don't even particularly love lighthouses. It was not an object that I enjoyed stitching on. It's not a product that I wanted to have at the end. So my rotation felt to me like a punishment. Oh, I don't get to work on the thing that I want to work on. I have to work on the thing I don't like. And then when I wasn't making progress on the thing I didn't like to go back to the Mirabilia because I wasn't doing it with a time frame like, oh, this week work on this project, and if you get through the week and you don't work on the project, whatever, go back to the other one. I was doing it as you had to stitch this many days on this project before you could go back to the next one. Kind of more associated with time spent on a project and not what the calendar called for. And it didn't work. I mean, I can look at that now and say, yeah, I know exactly why it didn't work, but it left a bad taste in my mouth as far as stitching in rotations, and I've never gone back to it. The problem is I have a really, really bad case of starteritis right now. I have not started anything, and that's because every day I have to force myself not to. I have 3 items I want to start yesterday, and I cannot because Sabrina. Yay, right? And as a result, I'm realizing, okay, if I want to start 3 things, well, I hopefully won't start them until Sabrina is done, in which case that would leave me 2 whips in rotation, or 2 whips that I'm working on, and then I would want to add these new items in. Well, how do I make sure that I'm giving not equal time, because the projects are different sizes. 2 of the ones I want to start are really small. They'll take me maybe a couple weeks of indifferent amounts of stitching, like not even a super hyper focus, ooh, I can get done in 2 weeks because all I do is cross stitch. It'd be 2 weeks of an hour here, an hour there, and they'd be done. So how do I best balance that with getting page finishes on my Hade? I don't know. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I create a rotation that I can stick with and that will work for me? These are 2 totally different. I can have ones that'll work for me and that I can make work like rock stars for 3 months, and then I'll promptly drop it, and no matter, there was a fabulous plan that it did work, well, I followed it, I just won't follow it. And then there's the, will I even follow, will I follow a plan at all? I don't know. I mean, I hope I do, but I'm not consistent like that. I know myself. Yikes. But the reason I bring this up is in watching people's videos, and there's really cool tags going around. I guess the No New Stars 2019, Stitch from Stash. I think there's another, but I've forgotten. Well, that's not me. I don't really have that. I mean, Stitch from Stash. I don't keep fabric in Stash, so I can't really stitch there from Stash. I don't have a complete set of DMC. Can't do that from Stash either. That's okay. And so next year kind of looking, it'll be more of a year of starts for me. I also hope it's a year of finishes. I mean, I don't want to have one without the other. That's part of the fun of this. And I just had to figure out a better balance, because I found myself over the last 2 weeks, I wanted to do the page finish on Winter Kiss, but the amount of time it takes to get the page finish is time that wasn't being given to Sabrina. And Sabrina is just bulky enough. I mean, I can take it places. I was the parent sitting outside chess club this week working on it in the hallways of the elementary school, but it's not a really great travel piece. It's just too large. And I would like to have something for all those random hours where I find myself sitting places. And I don't know how I turned into this person, because before kids, I didn't just randomly end up at places, but with them all in school, my afternoons and evenings have turned into just a scheduling disaster. Monday nights, I have to be at one place for one child, 30 minutes later, need to be another place 10 minutes down the road, then 30 minutes after that, go back to the first child, pick him up, run back to the second child, and all of these are, while they're close to home, they're not so close that I can run home in between. So I'm stuck for 25 minutes or so with nothing to do. This is a new problem for me. I don't know if I like this problem. But I realize, like, this is where you need things like small projects that you can take with you, or sock knitting. But I'm over sock knitting already. I forgot how much I hate it. So, eep. And I'm kind of tentatively starting to think about, what do I want to do in 2019? What do I want to do differently? What is not working for me right now? And I will tell you, this stitching on a deadline thing already not working for me, and this work on what I feel like when I feel like it also isn't working for me. So, you know, if you have anything that you want to share, please put it down in the comments. Let me know, what are best practices for this? Because obviously I had tried and failed before, but I want to try again, just maybe this time not fail. Nobody wants to fail, but if you're going to fail faster, and maybe see if I can come up with something that works better for me, where I can increase my productivity while maintaining high satisfaction with the hobby. In the meantime, this is totally an aside, but I was watching a video and someone had pulled their fabric out of Q-snaps and was apologizing for the creases that the Q-snaps had left. And I realized, I was like, I want to share. I have never used them. I know where to buy them. I've seen the off-brand ones at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, etc. I've seen the real ones at my L&S, and I've never picked them up. Why? Because this, I love. I love so much. I feel like hoops don't get any love. People, you see them. I stitch in hand. People saying that they stitch in hand, or that they're using Q-snaps, or they're using frames, and I've never used a frame. I hate stitching in hand. I try it every year or so just to see if I like it any better. I don't. So, a simple wooden hoop, and this is my 8-inch one. I think it's 8-inch. And then I have a 10-inch one I like even better. Yeah, I like the big ones. For my small projects, I have a little 4.5-inch. It cramps my hand. I don't like it because I use my hoop as basically an impromptu frame. Like, I prop it up in my, so the big hoops are better for this. You prop it in your lap between your knee and your body. You have I use my left hand on the side that I can see, and my right hand underneath the fabric, and I love it because it's portable, and also because I don't want to crunch the stitches, I take the hoop out every day, so nothing ever happens. Also, am I the only person who loves their stitching to be on fabric this tight as a drum? So when I picked up the 8-inch hoop and the 10-inch hoop, it started with I needed new ones because my dog's, thanks, puppy, it was the puppy at that point, she was only 3 months old, decided to eat all of my existing wooden hoops, which were cheapy, I think bamboo from Hancock's when they were still open, but it was the right size, and then it was really hard. I didn't like the quality. You go to Joann's, you go to Michael's, and they're not bamboo, they're wooden, but they are splintery. They're awful. So went to the L&S, and that's where I got this one. So then she was like, "Oh, you should try this." And it is a spring, basically, with a plastic piece that is supposed to hold it. And it was funny, the employee didn't really say anything much about this one, but this one she's like, "You cannot leave your fabric in here, you stitch on it, take it back out." Well, duh, that's with every hoop. But she was talking about how it crushed stitches. I don't know, I've used this twice. It does not keep the fabric taut enough for me. It gets wiggly, and if I wanted wiggly, I'll just stitch in hand, and I hate that. The whole point is I like take this and make the fabric tight. You know what? Actually, I'm going to show you how tight I put my fabric, because as soon as I'm done filming, I'm going to go back and work on Sabrina before my kids get home from school. And I I'm actually curious, am I the only person who does this? And it kind of makes me feel bad because every time I take pictures of my in progress pictures, you can kind of see the hoop marks because they're like everywhere, but they wash out fine. And again, I don't have any issues with crushing stitches. It'll be that I have one sort of, and no joke, I do make this tight. So I like sit here and pull these, and they will occasionally look a little rough coming out of the hoop after a couple hours. But like this is still too loose. You can poke it. And I don't know if this was just something I picked up when I was a kid, and we had super stiff Ada, and my mom taught me on hoops, so this is how I assumed it should be. But it is still not, it is getting there. The other downside is as you get further along and you have the actual embroidery floss, you can't get it as tight as when it's on just linen. And this is the other reason that I like the big ones, because you have more area to work with. And this is finally tight enough. I mean, I don't know if you can tell. I don't know how you would show that. But yeah, and I never see anyone sharing that sort of, I like it really, really, really under tension, but this is how I love it. Now, where I was going with that, besides the fact, this doesn't get that tight. So this, no good. I should get rid of it, but I haven't yet. But it also ties into needle minders. I only have 2 of these, and they're both of this style. I literally know nothing about magnets, and this is just what my old LNS had. And I think they're cute because they remind me of the cameo brooches that are tremendously out of date if they were ever in style, but my mom liked to keep them around and then be like, oh, you can wear that. And little teenage me in the 90s was like, no, I can't. What do you take me for? A little old lady? But I do love the white on a pastel background. It is cute. So I have 2 of them. They're both floral. And the problem with this is if I put it flopping here on the side, that's a waste. If I put it here, the weight of this is enough that it stops being so tight. And then I have to sit in the middle of my stitching session and make everything taut again. And I just don't have time for that. But I do like the idea of a needle minder because I have a really bad habit of pulling the needle out. Oh, my thread is ended, and putting it in the upholstery. I've never had leather furniture, so you put it in the upholstery. And do you know how many needles I've lost that way? Worse is when they've like kind of disappeared, but then you put your hand down and you're like, ow, what is that? And then you realize there's a needle stuck on the furniture. Again, bad habits I picked up when I was a kid, so the needle minder is a great thing. But I hadn't really cracked, like, well, how could I do it better? Like, I've had it floating loose on the side table for a little bit, but I didn't like it. It's not within visual shot, so I'm kind of putting the needle and guessing that it's going to get there, and I keep dropping needles on the floor instead. I was watching Beth from Heartstring Samplery, her late October video, and she was mentioning that she has a ton of needle minders, but that she doesn't use them as needle minders, which I found interesting because she has just kind of described how I want to be. And she mentioned that she has one on her lamp. It was like a light bulb went off. I don't know how. I have an OttLite floor lamp. It is wonderful. It's the only way I can stitch when it's not 100% perfectly sunny. And this sits right here, right where eye level. Like, I put it at eye level, so I cannot forget where my needle minder is. It's up where I don't have to worry about the dogs, because yes, I have worried about what happens the day the dogs decide to eat a needle minder. Which mine would, because I'm not good about putting them away. And I don't, And it keeps me from putting my needles in the furniture or losing them, since I'm really good at that. And it was such a wonderful, perfect, works for me. I mean, maybe it'll work for you. I hope so, or not. I mean, maybe you use needle minders as you're supposed to be. And I also suspect a lot of my issue has to do with, again, the thickness of this magnet is insane. So you have 2 of them. It's heavy. Then I don't even know what you would call this part. But it's so thick that it's kind of hard to work with. And when I see people's needle minders where they're using the rare earth magnets and it's much thinner and lower profile, I could see why you would want them on your piece. For me, it was a very happy thing to find a way to use my bit of pretties that hold my needles, and I really cannot live without having a place to put my needles, but to have it stay away from my project is awesome. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Feel free to hit the like button, subscribe if you like my content, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.